when you were at Lake Chautauqua, you were part of an opera company, right? They were
Yeah,
putting
it's summer opera.
What? Do you remember what opera?
Madame Butterfly, The Marriage of Figaro, and Aida, and Iolanthe.
All in one summer, they put them all on. The whole operas?
What you do is you practice for one that's coming up, and then you're singing the one that you're working on now.
Wow.
So you always work ahead on the operas.
And what roles did you have?
I sang in the chorus.
And how'd you like that?
And I was a fairy too.
A fairy in which
A fairy from Iolanthe. I remember coming out on the stage and supposed to be running out and being a fairy. I remember that part. We all had costumes too.
How'd you like it?
I liked it, but it's work. It's work.
You were tired.
It's work, it is.
Were you living in like a dorm situation there? In Chautauqua?
Well, there was a Presbyterian home there or something. I'm not sure whether it was Presbyterian, but it was a church organization that had rooms there for you. It was cheap, $5 or something a week or something like that. And so I stayed in this room, in this rooming place.
With roommates?
No, just by myself.
One second. Did you know that pretty early on? So you really did think that maybe you could have a career as a singer. So when you were at Chautauqua, were you thinking you still wanted to do that, or were you kind of getting like, I don't know if I'm going to like this?
Well, I liked it, and I wanted to go on to Juilliard School of Music and see if I could get a scholarship, but it didn't crystallize because my husband wanted to get married, so...
So he came to Chautauqua and asked you to marry him again?
Yeah, and I just put him off for a while. I didn't know whether I really wanted to marry him or not. But he was very nice and considerate and very polite. He was a gentleman.
So how'd you finally make up your mind? What pushed you over to say yes?
Well, because there wasn't any more money to go on to New York City. I didn't have any financial help.
Right.
So that stopped me.
So you knew that you weren't going, even if you got a scholarship.
Wouldn't have done me any good because I didn't have a job and no money coming from anywhere. And my father, I wouldn't dare ask my father. So I had to stop there because the money ran out.
And the scholarship wasn't going to pay for everything.
No.
So you just couldn't figure out how you would do it.
I couldn't figure out how I would do it because I had no money for a place to stay, no money for food, for transportation, all that. There just wasn't any money there anymore.
And here was your husband saying, I mean, well, at that point he wasn't your husband, so here was a nice, polite guy saying what to you?
With some money.
And he was basically offering you what?
And he gave me the impression that he would take care of me, that I wouldn't be without a place to stay or anything else, have it hard. Nope, the money stopped me.
It was the money. Otherwise you would have had to go home and live with your parents, right?
Well, I don't know whether I'd want to do that.
Or go find a job somewhere.
Find a job, but my father wouldn't have liked that. I couldn't really go home because my father wouldn't like that. After he paid for my school for 4 years, he figures I'm old enough now to go out and help myself. So I disappointed my father.
In what way did you disappoint
But I'm not sorry I married my husband because he gave me a good life. And I didn't ever have to worry about $1.
So it sounds like there really weren't, even when you think back now, what other options could you possibly have had? I mean, you had no money, right? You couldn't really get a job.
And I couldn't really teach because I didn't take a teaching course.
You never really took the courses that you would have needed to become a teacher.
That's right, I never did.
Did your father think you were the whole time?
My father thought I was studying to be a teacher.
Did he ever figure out that you weren't?
No, not until I got married. Then he got real upset because I was going to get married.
How did you find out that he got upset?
Because I went by to see my mother before we went on our honeymoon, and I was in the car and I saw my father walking down the street, and he just looked like he was really upset. And then I felt guilty because I took his money. But then I started to pay him back. I went and got a job after I was married at first because I had nothing to do, no children or anything. So I took a job and I worked for the government. And I worked at the Gulfport Naval Station in Biloxi, Mississippi. And I worked for the government in Sandia, New Mexico. And I made money, and I was starting to pay my father back so much a month for the school money that he gave me.
Mm-hmm. How much money did he actually finance your education? How much did he spend on you?
Well, my school was over $1,000 a year, and he gave me 4 years on that.
But that was just the part that you had to pay, because partly you had scholarship.
Uh-huh.
But the $1,000 was what he had to pay.
Yeah.
So
it was at least that much.
So it was at least $4,000, and probably more, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So did he ever talk to you and tell you he was disappointed, or you just saw him walking and he looked disappointed, he looked angry?
My mother told me how he was.
Oh, your mother did? So when you made the decision that you were going to get married, were you still in Chautauqua at the time? When you said yes to
Well, no, I wasn't. I came back from Chautauqua, and then that was September, and I graduated in June because I was in Chautauqua all summer.
Right.
And then
you moved back in with your parents?
in September I figured, well, I might as well get married then because I can't go on with my career anymore. Had no more money to finance it. You have to have money for music lessons. You got to still sing and practice, and have a teacher. You got to pay for that. And so the money stopped me. Yeah.
So did you continue, right after you got married, did you continue singing, or did you just totally stop?
I just stopped. I sang in the church choir.
You did?
Yeah, I sang in the church choir.
Uh-huh. But that was it. You didn't work on you didn't take lessons or anything like that after you got married?
No, I wanted to bury it.
You did?
I wanted to bury my music because I was really shameful of myself that I went that far. And then gave it up. So.
But looking back now, do you think there was anything else you could have done?
No, because I didn't have the money. The money stopped me.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have
so
the
really,
money.
there really
nobody to back me up or anything.
Right. And as much as your husband wanted to marry you, he wasn't going to put you through graduate school in music, I guess.
No, I didn't want to go then after I met him.
You didn't? Well, he wouldn't have done that anyway, would he have?
Probably not.
He was looking for a wife to follow him around, right? Uh-huh. So you just decided you would just switch your life altogether.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thought I'd be a wife then.
Was there parts of that you wanted to do anyway? Parts of that life?
I was raised in an old-fashioned atmosphere. My folks were from Germany, and I was raised in an old-fashioned environment.
Uh-huh. And did you want to get away from that, or did you want to...
I was very serious in my work.